We here at the Women's Soccer Show would like to extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Poppy Atkinson, the young footballer who was tragically killed earlier this week.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Allie.
And it's not just a big week of football, it's a big week on the podcast. We have such an exciting interview. Not just this week, we've also got a really exciting interview next week. It's like back-to-back weeks of interviews that we have been pumped about for a really long time. And then piled on top of that, there's a lot going on in the football world. NWSL is kicking off, a lot of head coach, I don't even know what to call it, drama across the globe in terms of head coaches, and so much more, Allie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're going to get onto some news in a bit, but I had a nap this afternoon. I woke up and went, why have I gone back in time? Why is it like 4 years ago?
Why? With what?
Because of Man City's announcement and who the replacement for the Man City announcement is.
So, without further ado, if you hadn't guessed already, we're going to talk about Gareth Taylor's sacking. We're also going to talk about the Albertine Montoya news that the San Francisco Chronicle broke. Of course, we're going to talk about how the NWSL is kicking off this weekend. And soon enough, we finally reached it, Allie. It's the Chelsea City matchup times 4. 4 games in a row. They will face each other, and we've reached it. What impeccable timing for City to fire their manager. But we'll talk about that too. And then in the back half of the episode, it's the interview that we are so pumped about. Allie, you found this for us, so why don't you intro it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've got an amazing interview with Everton's head coach, Brian Sørensen. So we're going to talk about all things WSL and Everton with him. So I'm pumped for you guys to hear it. We were pumped to do it. So let's get into the football of it all. To kick us off, we are going to talk about the WSL and, of course, the big Chelsea City 4 times matchup.
What should we call it? What should we call that?
It's like the quadruple, man. It's like,
who's going to do the quad? Who's going to get the... Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Who's going to get the quad? So, just a reminder that the first matchup is this Saturday. That is the Subway Cup final, or the Women's League Cup final if you don't want to give it its sponsorship name. That is on Saturday the 15th of March. They then play each other on Wednesday at Man City in the Champions League quarter-final. That's the 19th of March. They then will play at Man City again on Sunday the 23rd of March. And then they will be playing the second leg of the Champions League quarterfinal at Chelsea on the 27th of March.
It's hilarious, Allie. It's still funny to me. Now, let's just get into it, because this is extra hilarious because of the move that Manchester City have just made. Manchester City have sacked head coach Gareth Taylor. They released in a statement on Monday. They said, quote, Taylor has a long-standing association with Manchester City, having been both a former player and having undertaken various roles within the boys' academy prior to joining Manchester City Women's FC in 2020. One of the many gripes, if not the main one, we have had about Gareth Taylor. They went on to say, quote, he led our women's team to FA Cup and League Cup success in 2020 and 2022 respectively, before narrowly missing out on last season's WSL title on goal difference alone. I love that they had to include that. Finally, they said, quote, speaking of Gareth Taylor's departure, managing director Charlotte O'Neill said, quote, Manchester City prides itself on competing at the top of the WSL and on its outstanding record for qualifying for European competition. Unfortunately, results this season have so far not reached this high standard. With 6 games of the WSL campaign remaining, we believe that a change of management will breathe fresh life into our bid to ensure qualification for the 25-26 UEFA Women's Champions League.
First off, it's hilarious on that statement when they said fresh life when we tell the people who has come in to step in as interim coach. And second of all, I'm going to say it's West Ham's fault because y'all tried to roll us on the Wednesday game, failed miserably, only managed to get a draw against us, and that was Gareth Taylor's death note. I stand by that.
I think you're probably right, because we need to talk about the timing of this. Well, there's so many things to talk about here. First and foremost, just for our own sake and our own benefit, Allie, I have to say, For those of you longtime listeners, and thank you for being such longtime listeners, you probably need 3 hands to count how many times we have talked about Gareth Taylor and how unqualified he always has been for this job. And I honestly had reached a point where I didn't think he was ever going to get sacked. So despite thinking this is the right move, I was genuinely surprised by this. Like, it's been so long that he hasn't been that we all just assumed he'd never be. I'm still a little bit shocked, Allie.
Yeah, the timing is crazy, but I think they are right because the Champions League is not really in their hands at the moment. It sort of is, but it's not, because they either have to win the whole thing to compete next year or have to hope that Arsenal screw up spectacularly.
Yeah. Let's talk about the timing of this, because this is right before Champions League kicks back off, because we just said they play Chelsea twice, the first and the second leg of the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Those are 2 out of the 4 games that they're about to play Chelsea in. And they sack Gareth Taylor right before those 2 games and before they play Chelsea 4 times in a row. What are your thoughts on this timing? Like, for a club, if you're a City fan, do you kind of agree that this actually might give them more of a chance to beat Chelsea than if they just let it run with Gareth Taylor?
That's a lot of faith to put in new manager Bounce.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Like, seriously, like, I said it when we talked about the other sackings, like the Matt Beard sacking and stuff like that the timing is weird. And I think the timing is weird here as well, because, and we'll get into who they've got to replace him, but it's like, you've got a cup final, you've got 2 matches that are going to determine whether or not you stay in Champions League, and then you've got a very important game in the league, playing the currently undefeated league leaders. Why? Like, I get that it's not been working, it's not going to be great, but what magic do you think this new manager is going to do? Like, the cup finals in like 4 days.
Yeah, it is really wild timing for something that I feel like should have happened so long ago. I can't believe it's happening now and like this. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. It does make sense in the way that, how many years have we said that Gareth Taylor has taken them to the peak of what he can do? Like, they will not exceed the heights that they have flown to under Gareth Taylor. That is the farthest and the highest they will fly under his management. So if you think about it in that context, if you're going to get into Champions League next year, you certainly need to fly a lot higher and a lot farther or better, or whatever the phrase is, than you have under Gareth Taylor. So why not at least just try? Because this reasoning is basically like, well, we know we won't under Gareth Taylor. Maybe we will under a new manager. And that I kind of understand. And now this is the part where we talk about who is going to fill Gareth Taylor's role.
So this is why I feel like...
for the record, I've stayed off social media and I don't know this. So I'm about to hear this for the first time.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is why I feel like I've gone back in time, because, drumroll please, the man that is replacing Gareth Taylor is the man that he replaced, Nick Cushing, ladies and gentlemen.
Are you serious?
Nick Cushing is coming back to Manchester City Women as their interim manager. This is why I feel like I've gone back in time, because this is insane.
Oh my God. I don't even know.
Like, I get it. And the thing is, as somebody pointed out, the City group that owns multiple teams, let's remember they own Melbourne City, they own Manchester City, and they own New York City. Very imaginatively named. And as somebody pointed out, they didn't think Nick Cushing was good enough to run their MLSL team of New York City, but he's good enough to come back and run their top flight women's team.
Yeah, so he has been with NYCFC, New York City FC. He's been in the MLS, not just the academy. I believe he's been.
Oh no, he was the MLS manager.
Yeah, he was with the MLS. He was first the assistant coach, and then in 2022 he took over as the head coach. That's a men's team, for the record, obviously, with the MLS. I don't even have the carousel of coaches continues, and I agree with you that I don't necessarily believe that he's going to do that much of a better job. I do think that fresh management, just a fresh perspective. I don't really know. I can't sit here and say I know much about him as a manager and how he fared in the MLS whatsoever, or in his first stint at City.
To be fair, he got them the treble. Like, he was the manager that got them the League Cup, FA Cup, and title all in one season. No other team has managed to do that since. I'm not saying they were the first. I know Arsenal did it first, but no other team have done it since with that one. So, yeah, I can get their thinking, and he is only the interim, and to be honest, I kind of get it because he does have WSL experience, and there are so few managers out there, unless you wanted Matt Beard, to come in with WSL experience. And I'd feel like bringing a manager from another league at this crucial time would have been even stupider, because the WSL is such a different beast, and it's such a crucial time. I kind of get their thinking, but at the same time, I'm like, it's just mind-blowing that this is what they've decided. Because if you're a Chelsea fan, pretend you're a Chelsea fan for a minute, are you now, or even Chelsea thing, are you now thinking, well, we're going to do the 4, we're going to do the quad, because they're going to be so disjointed and so unsettled, because there is either barely any or no players left from the Nick Cushion era, so it's not like you can say he's familiar with the team.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for any interim head coach. I think my feeling after you say that is that I think this is a great interim hire. I still really would love, in just the world of football, to see the coaching carousel really stop, and to see new people be given opportunities instead of the same people over and over and over and over again. Not that they should be out of jobs, but I just think that it's so imbalanced. It's so hard to break into a head coaching role. And then once you're in one, it seems like you just kind of rotate. It's just the cast continues to rotate. So I like this as an interim role. I think it's so hard. Like you just said, this is an incredibly difficult role for him and for these players, because is he going to come in and try to play Gareth Taylor's system, which they are all familiar with, but it's not his system, it's Gareth Taylor's system? Or is he going to come in with how many days? 5 days until they play Chelsea, and try to rework an entirely new system, an entirely new way of play? Neither of those sound great. I don't know. I think this could play out one of two ways. I think if I'm a Chelsea fan, I do see it, and it could be the most wonderful thing, because they could be on their heels because of everything we just said. Or it could be actually harder for Chelsea, because suddenly City are not predictable. You can't go and watch game footage and know this is exactly what they're going to do. You actually have no idea what they're going to do. Are they going to play like they did under Gareth Taylor, or are they going to turn it on its head? I don't know. And that's harder to prepare for if you're Chelsea. I can't believe it happened, Allie. I don't never want to bask in a firing of somebody because he lost his job, and that's sad and unfortunate news. But I am going to say, this is the longest standing I told you so in women's soccer show history. And RIP to the Gareth Taylor rants, because they will be no longer.
I know.
Well, we've had a lot of those.
We've had a lot of those. It also now comes to think that Mark Skinner is now the longest serving WSL manager at the moment, which I'm sure Man United fans are thrilled at, especially as rumours are coming around that they might extend his contract for another year.
I honestly can't believe it happened. For something that I genuinely did not think I would be shocked at when it happened, because I thought it needed to happen, I am shocked that this has happened. And wow. Hey, it's going to be exciting to see how these 4 games and the rest of the season plays out.
And now I'm so excited to intro this. We have a wonderful interview with Everton's head coach, Brian Sørensen. We're going to talk all about his career before football, how he's doing at Everton, and his love for the city of Liverpool. It's a wonderful chat, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear it.
The one and only head coach of Everton women. I'm not even sure that he needs an introduction, because I said just that, and everybody listening to this podcast knows exactly who he is. But Brian Sørensen, thank you so much for joining us. For those who don't know, head coach of Everton women since April 8th, 2022. You won the Manager of the Month award once last year in 2024 for Barclays WSL, or the BWSL. I think that's something we'll ask you about that we didn't plan to. Coached professionally in Denmark for 13 years across 4 different clubs before making his way over to England and the WSL. And he's a massive matchup with Arsenal this Friday. So we are very lucky to have him here. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us and be here, Brian.
Yeah, thank you a lot. Hopefully I'm going to enjoy it.
I hope so too. Maybe I'll start with that question, and it might be a really stupid one. It probably is, but my biggest gripe with how fans are calling the WSL now is because it's the Barclays WSL. They've now deemed it the BWSL. How do you personally refer to it when you're talking to people about the WSL?
No, I just say the WSL. It's much easier.
There we have confirmed.
So, yeah.
Great. Well, let's kick on with the interview now.
No, so we're going to start briefly with your history and what actually brought you into coaching, because from research it said you was in construction for a long time and then you got your license and went into coaching in Denmark. So what was it that brought you into football coaching?
Yeah, I actually been coaching since I was 16. My brother is 7 years younger than me, and at that time his team needed an assistant coach, so started to do that. Played football myself, it's been a carpenter, like that's my education. Took step by step. Was the assistant coach for him. There was a couple of female players on his team at that time, a very local small club, and it's very, like small town, 3,000 people, I think, so everybody knew everyone. And I asked some of the parents, or isn't there more girls that want to play football, and then we could start a team. So we actually started the first team in the local club called EF Jarl Arden. Very hard name to say, but and then it just took on. It was a very good group I had. We basically won everything for the next, I think, 5-6 years in the region, and went into more abroad in Denmark and played national league, and then I got recruited by a bigger club in the area. Took that job for 5 years. So started U14 and then all the way up to the best youth league that is all national in Denmark. Won the league with that team, and then I was actually gonna step out of football, but Nadia Nadim, probably people, the listeners know about her. Been playing in US, is in Milan now, but also been in the WSL for Man City and PSG and so on. I came across with her and her sisters. They were refugees from Afghanistan, and took a little care of them in terms of getting them to training and so on. And then they just, she needed to take a new move, and I was actually on my way out of football, but couldn't really get the right move that she wanted. So I joined as an assistant coach in the best league, and basically took her there. It was, at that time, transportation, getting to training was a big issue for female players if they weren't like living in the city where like the best team were playing. So did that, and then got a bit, because we're playing the best league in Denmark, got a little more into it in the coaching. Started to do my exams and so on, and just took step by step. Came across Pernille Harder, who's in Bayern Munich now, and so I had two of the biggest talent in Denmark for quite a while, and then became the head coach later on for one of the big traditional club in Denmark called Skovbakken at that time. It's called AGF now. The men's club took over in the second biggest city in Denmark, in Aarhus. I was there for 6 seasons, did quite well with very young team. And then Fortuna, who's the driving force in Danish women's soccer for more than 2 decades, came knocking on the door, and went there, and then had an amazing 6 years in Fortuna, where won the league, won the cup a couple of times, and then took a little break for football because I've been going non-stop since I was a teenager. I also had developed like an individual system that was going worldwide, used a little time on that. COVID hit, couldn't travel so much, so got back into coaching again in FC Nordsjælland. They were trying to build their women's team, from the bottom. So did that for a couple of seasons with great success, and then went back to Fortuna because they were out of Champions League for the first time in 20 years or something like that. So went back, got them into Champions League, and then Everton come knocking. So in the WSL.
You say it so casually, but what a journey.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Fortuna Hjørring. Am I saying that relatively correctly? Despite my accent? Okay, great. You mentioned your stints there and that you saw a lot of success with the club. And we wanted to ask you about not just your time there, but kind of the whole club scene in Denmark, because I feel like the club scene in Denmark, while the national team is actually getting a lot of coverage kind of worldwide, the club scene in Denmark is not really getting a ton of coverage. So we'd love to ask you a few questions just about that. So I guess, first of all, how would you describe the club scene in Denmark? Is it well supported? Is it well supported in funding, in fans? And how has it grown?
I think it traditionally there were two teams, Fortuna and Brøndby, who was, if you go back in history, like shared who was going to win basically every season for more than 20 years or something like that. And then Nordsjælland, like actually one of the reasons I took Nordsjælland was because I was a little tired of only like a 2-horse race and who's gonna win, and these games that we played each other was so it basically determined which one was gonna be the champions this year. So Nordsjælland started to invest, which was really good, and we saw I think what I started with a lot of other good people was they won the double last season, and then HB Køge, American investor Capelli Sport came in and really also changed the landscape there. And now you see AGF has, Skovbakken who become AGF because the men's club took over. We have FC Copenhagen, who is the biggest club in Denmark, who's investing in women's football. And Brøndby, of course, traditional being it, but now they're in the pro setup, fully pro. So so I think it's getting much better than like when I was there in terms of 2-3 horse race, where now it's I think 5-6 clubs could win the league basically if they got it right, and has left the league. I think in the last year I was there, I think I made a count like 60 very good players have left the league in a 3-year period. That all plays in big address now. So it's a talent development league. The young players will get a chance because, and then you have a couple of good foreigners in each team that is raising the bar because of like Denmark is a good place to live. You can create a good life for your family and so on. So I think we see a lot of those ones who actually stick around and become more Danish than where they're from almost in terms of building a life there. So no, I think it's really on the right track. I still think there needs to be a lot more like investments into it so it can grow faster. I think the national team is good, but it lacked depth, and those players need like better infrastructure in the clubs and so on if they want to compete on, I'll say, on the level that women's soccer has grown to, because it's really took its jump in the last just 4 or 5 years. I'll say in the league I'm in now, like every new season we begin, it's just harder competition. The bars are raised in almost everything, not even only on the pitch but also like outside the pitch. So Denmark wanna keep growing good talents. Like they also need to invest a little more after my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I even know some people who played in the collegiate system who went and played over professionally in Denmark when they finished playing in college because it was such a great place to live. They'll pay more for a foreigner to come in so you can actually go and play and get paid. And I've heard only rave reviews about it.
Yeah, I think all the clubs basically did it. And at that time we were the only club who did it. Fortuna, where did we have 11, 12 foreigners like in our team at that time, and we did really well. Like I think 5 ranked in the Champions League with a like totally amateur setup. We were all were working a little on the side. The Americans who come in, they were doing it maybe in like a 3-month period when the Champions League was on, and then they'll go back, and then of course some stayed. But yeah, it's good to have this in, because that always like raises everything and challenge you and so on. So I think now all the clubs basically have 4 or 5 good foreign players that majority of course from US, but also from other parts in Europe are coming.
Talking of great players, with your current setup, because you are obviously Everton's head coach, you came to Everton at a time when the critics were saying it's not a if Everton get relegated, it's a when Everton get relegated, and you came in, took them to 6th on your first season. What is it about Everton that makes it so special that made you want to take a job there?
Yeah, I'm born on a farm and from a working class family and background, and I think it's there's so many like things that values that I share, that the Everton as a club, I think they run the biggest Everton in community program in the whole country. It's all about the community, and I would say now I've been living in Liverpool for 2.5 years, and a little more actually. It's not soon 3, and everyone I meet is blue. There's a lot more Evertonians in Liverpool than there are Liverpool fans, and I think on Anfield you have 5,000-6,000 with a Liverpool postcode like that are regulars there, where in Goodison Park you have 35,000 that has a Liverpool postcode. So yeah, it's really ingrained in the city and in the community, and I cherish those things, and I just think it's a good club to be a part of. Like every member that is working on Finch Farm where we train is so open and polite and good people. So yeah, I really was pleased when I have the first meeting and I got the job, and yeah, it hasn't been without challenges. You said about we were favorites to maybe get relegated, and yeah, that was also quite true. If you look at the money we had available for the last couple of seasons, and everyone else in the league is just going that way, is investing more and more, and we actually had to cut some funding and so on, and had to sell some good players early on there. But first season was great. We ended up 6, where I think we also deserve to be. If you look at our performance in games, season after was extremely challenging in terms of we had 9 injuries in an average throughout the whole season, and with a squad that only counts 20 players, it was hard to compete consistently. But I still think we overperformed massively and became 8. So yeah, this season started out even worse with ACLs for our some of our best players, and but now we have new ownership, and I think things are brightening up. I'm really excited for the future, and we had a good January window to bring in some good players. So we're on good track. It hasn't been without its challenging, but we kept the squad together, and we got through it. Had to sell some big names on the way to put it into the squad, of course, to keep us in the league. But no, I think we're in a very good place now.
I have to say, you've done a wonderful job of foreshadowing what we were about to talk to you about, which is this current WSL season. You mentioned the off season. You mentioned everything we were going to ask you about. So let's talk this season, because Arsenal on Friday, you're coming off a huge win against Aston Villa, a game actually before that where you play the league leaders really extremely well. Your track record against Arsenal kind of speaks for itself. I believe that was your second ever game as Everton head coach, and you drew with Arsenal. So that bodes well. We'd love to just ask about, obviously you can't tell us too much about what's going to happen on Friday, but tactically, when you're coming up against a team like Arsenal with such a powerful attack, do you adjust how you want to play on a week-to-week basis when you come up against a team that can put away so many goals like Arsenal can?
No, we actually play quite the same way, and we approach the games. Of course, it's different with the personnel they have available, and we also know they will probably have the ball more than we will have. But the principle of the way we're defending, the principle of the way we are attacking is always the same. So I think we, like, defensively, we've been quite solid this year. There's been the Chelsea game home where we were playing like 2-3 teenagers against a world-class team, then they're just too good. And then the first game of the season against Brighton, where did they get like 2 goals from the ref with not good situations, but also we got an ACL for Rogali and so on. It's just a really, really bad start. But 9 goals there. If you take them out of the rest, we've been quite solid defensively. So so we have different ways of defending. We can defend like man a bit deeper. We can also just do it super zonal, and we can we're making like pressure traps in different areas of the pitch to try to lure them into. It's an area we've been focusing a lot on and definitely become much better at. The City game just before Christmas was I think one of our best games defensively in terms of keeping them to like absolutely no chances almost, and City you don't do that often against them. So we have different ways of defending, and we'll choose one of the ways to start out against Arsenal, but then we also know we can mix it up. Like sometimes we're super aggressive on goal kicks, sometimes we're not. Sometimes we drop in a bit earlier, and sometimes we play with a little higher back line. It depends on where we feel we can take an advantage in our defensive game. And then of course with the ball we always try to control as much as we can, overloading different areas of the pitch. I think teams find it quite hard to press us because we play super slow, and then suddenly we mix it up. And I think with the signings we got in this season with Tony Payne and Kelly Gargo on top, like Chelsea was defending with 4 almost all the time because they didn't want to leave those 2 alone with even they have probably some of the best center backs in the league. So no, I think after Christmas here we've been adding a bit more onto our game, and we just need, I said that before, like we just need games together so we can understand each other a bit better, and football is all about relationships. So no, hopefully we're in a good place going into the Arsenal game, and of course we have a big belief we can do it because we've done it before with actually maybe not as a strong squad available as we have now.
Yeah, I want to talk about your strong squad because your goalkeeper Courtney Brosnan, and I will mention her not just because she's ex-West Ham. I always try and get that in there. And your back line, you've only got 22 goals against, which is the 5th in the league for goals against, which is insane. What is there something specific that's really clicked this season, or is it just that you guys went in pre-season and went, this is what we've got to work on? No,
I think like last season we were the same, like in the season before. We actually don't concede. Like, then we have a couple of games where, I remember playing one of the best games ever at Kings Meadow against Chelsea, and we lost 7-1 because Pernille Harder and Sam Kerr were throwing everything in back of the net. But we actually played like probably one of the best games we ever played on the ball against them. But sometimes they're just so good and ruthless. But I think consistently we've been quite solid defensively, and of course Courtney is one of the reasons behind that. She's been improving so much over the last couple of seasons. We actually have a second keeper in Emily Ramsey. Sorry, I call her Rambo, but Emily Ramsey, who is also really, really talented and really good, but has been a bit unfortunate with injuries. So on the goalkeeping front, we are very, very well in a good place. And I don't know if you guys know it, but we also own Ines Pereira, who is in Deportivo La Coruña, so Portugal's #1 keeper, and she's gonna join this summer. So from that side, we are in a very good place.
I love hearing nicknames that you don't get to hear unless you're like on the training pitch. All right, final question about this season before we get into our last couple, which are just fun questions. But you talked about the off-season movement. Off-season and January transfer window has been huge. Mentioned Tony Payne, obviously Kelly Gago, Haley Ladd, Maren Mjelde, just so many big moves for Everton and so many big pickups. And it's been historically very hard for teams to climb into the top 3, top 4 of WSL, but Everton really do seem to be making moves to do that. Just on a larger picture, I'm curious why you think it's been so tough for teams to climb into those top 3 or top 4 spots in the WSL.
I think there's a history in those clubs. I know United I knew, but like the budget and the money they just went in with after Casey left, like was massive to if you compare to all the other clubs, and I think they have a good core there that they kept on to, and then they added on really good players. So just from a budget point of view, like I think what Chelsea bought in players this January window is what our budget was before our January window. With new owners, of course, we raised our budget with the signings we just made, but before that, like those 2 players in transfers was just what we were using in an entire year on our squad. So the gap is on that side extremely big. If you look at head counts in staff, like I think we have 12 in staff before Christmas, and Chelsea has 38, Arsenal has 36 or something like that. So it's just different level. And I think teams like Tottenham, Brighton, Villa, has really invested in those areas also. Has huge staff and very good setups. But then I think the whole women's world has exploded so fast that US, you guys know that, like they're investing bad amount of money. I was trying to get a player from Brazil. She went to Mexico on the like 5 times as much as I could offer her. Like that's just the reality. And even in Brazil, like some of the clubs down there, they pay quite well. So the competition for very good players are massive. You have the German league, who's not only it's always been Wolfsburg and now Bayern maybe in the last decade, like started to invest it. But you also have Eintracht Frankfurt is doing really well. You have Leverkusen. You have other teams that are really starting to invest in women's football also. So when you do that all over the world, there's not enough good players to get in. And I think with the brands these teams has, even Everton, I think we have a good historical brand, but because we haven't been up there for quite some years, it's hard to attract like that caliber player. Plus you also have to pay them maybe 4 or 5 times more than what we currently pay some of our players, right? So that's the gap that has to be bridged if you really want to break into that. I'm not saying you need the same amount of money, but you need something in that scale. You can be 70% off, like then you're not going to do it. So yeah.
It's funny. We always say, we talk a lot on this podcast about that gap and about how at the end of the day, it does come down to investment and amount of money, and you can't blame a player sometimes for going to get paid or going to a team that can provide them with a structure behind the scenes that is larger than something else. But it's really great to hear you quantify it into numbers. You mentioned 12 staff members as compared to Chelsea's 30 something. It's really nice to hear that quantified in very realistic numbers, because that's the reality of it.
Yeah, and I think people sometimes forget that. Like, we're in the best league in the world, which I think we are. Like, I follow the NWSL a lot, but it's there you'll have a superstar training with a college player, straight out of college, where here you have internationals on all the teams from, from number 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, up to, Chelsea has them until 20-something, 7. And that's just, like the quality in this league is so high. And I think the preseason tours that Chelsea and Arsenal went on, they're going there have some of the academy kids with and so on, and still, outperform the NWSL teams that are in middle of the season and are trying to get into to winning the league or in a playoff. And so I think, I think of course it's nice to see that everything is growing. I've really been working in women's soccer for so long. I've been hoping for this for a long time, and it's good to be a part of, and the girls really deserve everything and even more. Like we're not done at all, but yeah, I also think, like we always say, oh, who's the next one to come and challenge those top 4 clubs? I think it's gonna be really hard unless the investment backs it up. Yeah.
To change subject entirely, but I read an interview with you, and I really want to know. So you said that your daughter is now developing a Scouse accent, having been in Liverpool for so long. What is your favourite piece of Scouse slang she has taught you, or you have learnt in your time in Liverpool?
That's she was coming home and she was invited to a birthday. So and then chicken, and there's different like words that just like purely Scouse. She's still, I think, influenced by me and my wife, that her English it's some words, but then she has some words that are just, what did you say there? And then she's saying again. No, it's so fun to see, and she's going to school and really enjoying it, and speaks better English than I do almost. So no, it's good. But there's like the real Scouts are like, I don't know if you ever talk to anyone, but it can be very hard to understand.
I mainly can't understand that accent.
No.
There's certain accents that don't feel like they're speaking English to me, and that's one of them, where I need a much slower cadence when they're talking, and then I can kind of understand.
Exactly. And they cut all the words off, like, I think one of the ones you've heard, she was singing a Christmas song like Santa got stuck in the chimney, stuck. That was, what is stuck? Oh, stuck? Oh, okay. So, yeah.
All right, I think that's really all we have for you. We wanted to end on that fun one. Thank you so much again for joining us, for talking to us, for answering all of these questions. I know everybody's going to be really excited to hear everything you have to say, and good luck on Friday. And I say that as somebody who has been an Arsenal supporter for a while, but I am wishing you luck on Friday. I'll say it out loud. Hope you guys take the victory.
Thank you very much. It's going to be tough, but it was enjoyable, and continue the good work.
Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world.
To Italy, and second place Inter Milan had a blistering match this weekend with 7th place Lazio. They had the lead on 4 different occasions, but ended up settling for a 4-4 draw. Roma's woes continue, however, as they only managed another 0-0 draw, this time with Fiorentina.
And to the land down under, Australia, we have our playoff teams in the A-League. After a thrilling set of results this weekend, we have our top 6. Melbourne City, Melbourne Victory, Adelaide United, Western United, Brisbane Roar, and Central Coast will battle it out for the title.
To Germany, and Bayern Munich remain 3 points clear of their nearest rivals after winning against Cologne this weekend. Both Wolfsburg and Eintracht Frankfurt kept up the pressure with their wins this weekend.
And finally, to Mexico and La Liga MX, Pachuca are currently topping the league after their draw this weekend. America and Pumas follow closely behind in 2nd and 3rd, respectively.
Over to the other side of the pond, and we are talking NWSL. The new season kicks off this Friday, people. The new season, we're all excited. The Challenge Cup happened, so we had a little taste, and now we're ready for the main season. However, there has been some good, bad, and ugly news that is coming out of the NWSL. So let's start with the positive. Let's talk about the good news. As we mentioned, the NWSL kicks off this Friday, and the Challenge Cup happened. Do you want to break down very quickly how that went down?
Washington Spirit won the Challenge Cup in penalties. It was a 1-1 draw with Orlando in regulation. And then Washington Spirit won in pens. And I honestly feel like the most important thing to talk about when it comes to the Challenge Cup is, and this is going to sound more harsh than I mean it, but like, honestly, did anyone like truly care who won that game? I'm asking because I'm like, how can we add more weight to the Challenge Cup so that it feels like it actually matters? It just, to me, it's just lacking any weight to it. It feels like an exhibition game to me, to be totally frank.
Yeah, it's weird. You guys and trophies is quite weird. I think that's just the NWSL as well, because like we don't have it anymore because of, I think it was more to do with timing more than anything. But we had a similar thing which we called the Charity Shield, which was the winner of the FA Cup took on the winner of the league or second in the league if a team had won both. And that was
I thought it was a Community Shield.
It then became the Community Shield.
Okay.
It went through many names. But that had a lot of weight and a lot of teams wanted to win that because it was silverware. It's the first silverware of the season. You're coming away with a statement.
Well, I can tell you exactly what the difference is, though.
Do it.
The difference is you guys got to play that in the middle of the season when stakes were already high, people were already winning trophies, teams were in their full form. This game it doesn't feel like that. It's not mid-season. It's not end of the season. It feels like an exhibition game because it kicks off the season. So I think that's why it doesn't feel like there's as much weight to it.
I get that. Yeah, that it's sort of like teams are trying things out before regular season. I don't know the answer to how to make it have more weight to it because I just feel like it's just this weird thing to it. And
I don't know if I'm the only one who feels like that. Like maybe other NWSL fans actually don't feel like that. They feel like there's plenty of weight behind it. They like this. For me, it felt like an exhibition match. It was a little disappointing. The game was fun. Obviously, it's always exciting when it goes to pens, but just the feeling behind it, there wasn't that like, oh, I'm going to turn on the TV and watch the Challenge Cup now. It was like, wow, let's see how these teams are this year. That's how it felt. But anyways, we move along because that's over and the regular season is kicking off on Friday, everybody. 2 games on Friday, 3 games on Saturday, and 2 games on Sunday for this NWSL regular season opening weekend. And we've got a few questions we're going to ask each other here, just as our small preview of the NWSL 2025 regular season. Let's do it, Allie.
Whoop, whoop. So start off with, which matchup are you most excited for this opening weekend?
You know what? There's some really interesting matchups. I think one of these, so there's 7 games. I think one of them is going to surprise us a lot. I think one of these is we're going to come out and be like, whoa, what just happened? Number 1 is Angel City San Diego Wave because that's always fun. San Diego, LA, both of these teams are more question marky than they've ever been, I think.
California Derby.
There we go. I forget what they call it, the SoCal Derby. I always forget. The other game I'm really excited for specifically because I'm excited to see how Houston look this year. I want to see Houston Dash take on Washington Spirit. I think that game is going to be a closer one than everybody anticipates because I think Houston's going to be better than everybody anticipates. And what about you?
Okay, so the one that I am most excited is probably randomly KC Current versus Portland Thorns because
really everything Portland went through.
Well, that's exactly it. That's why I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited because we know what form KC were on last season. We know what football town they are making that area be and how behind them their fans are. They're at home. They're playing a very out of form Portland. To be honest, I'm excited about this game because I want to see if KC can carry it on. Was last season a fluke, or have they actually managed to kick on and become the footballing team and town that we thought they were last season? So that's what I'm really excited. And also the SoCal Derby is always going to be fun.
Yeah, I think they can kick on. I think they're for real. Honorable mention shout out is that Seattle Reign are going to host Gotham FC and Lynn Biamdolo is going to face her former club. So that might be fun. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be great football, but I think it'll be fun.
Okay, which team are you most excited to watch overall?
I do think I gave it away that I'm really curious about Houston this year. I just think that they get the best grade in terms of off-season movement. Followed closely, I think, by Bay FC. But they've done really well. So I think I'm most curious to watch Houston. I'm probably most excited to watch Kansas City or Orlando because they're just so explosive and fun, and they play a good brand of football. And it's just never a boring game with them. Like, I will always turn on, in this era, I will always turn on a game with either of those teams. Sorry to make it so, like, that's such a blah answer, but that's the truth. What about you?
Mine, I mean, I've got a new love for Orlando. We know this. But for me, it's probably Bay FC is who I'm excited to see because they were cooking something at the end of last season. And I feel like they've made more moves and fit more pieces into holes that they were having. So I'm excited to see if that's going to work and if that's going to absolutely kick on. So I'm excited by the Bay FC roster and to see if they're going to be able to get higher than they did last season.
I would agree with that. I think that in terms of solely rookie signings and signing out of college, I think they've done the best. When you look at just that specific silo, they have done the best job. So we'll see how those rookies fare too.
Okay, then the team that you think is going to surprise everyone. Who is this season's dark horse?
I mean, it's not anymore because I keep saying Houston, but I do think it's Houston. They finished last, everybody. So it doesn't really get worse, right? So I feel like because of that, that's almost a cop-out answer because, like, if it can't get worse, they are absolutely a dark horse. Surprise everybody. I think North Carolina is going to be way better than people think. I think that they're going to be up there contending with Orlando and Kansas City. And they were up there last season, but they were nowhere even in firing range in terms of points with Kansas City and Orlando. And I think that they will be this year. I also think the former Chicago Red Stars, which Google are still calling the Chicago Red Stars, and they are now the Chicago Stars FC. Blah. They get the prize for worst rebrand. I think they're also going to shock some people. I think that they're on a good trajectory right now.
Ooh, I disagree. We can get onto that in a bit, but I fear for Chicago fans. Sorry, Tim, but I fear for Chicago fans. I think it's going to be a horrible season for them.
Why?
I don't like the moves they've made. I don't think they've fit the right people in the right places.
Tell us more. Like, with what?
I don't know. It's just there's something that's giving me this like vibe. Like, I'm looking at the players they've got, and I'm like, Mal Swanson is still up in the air and undecided about fitness at the moment. That's going to be a huge thing for them. They've got a lot of young players, or a lot of young talent, but there's just something for me that's just not connecting. And I feel like a lot is riding on Mal Swanson, and if she's not fit, or if she is doing a Sophia and might be with child, which is what the rumors are saying.
Congratulations, by the way, to Sophia. I forget her new last name.
That's what I'm saying. I wanted to call her Sophia
formerly
Smith.
Smith. Wilson, I think.
Wilson. There we go. So yeah, Sophia Wilson. So like, yeah, I fear for Chicago.
You know what? I'll also add a team that I think is going to surprise everybody, but in the opposite way. I don't think Gotham's going to be good this year.
Oh no, Gotham are going to be terrible.
I don't think they're going to be terrible, but I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. Definitely not. All right, well, how do you feel about Utah? Up, down, stay the same?
Utah. I think they're probably going to fall, and I know they couldn't fall that much, but I think they're going to fall because, again, it's really hard. I was having this conversation with someone the other day in the fact that as much as the draft was terrible for player movement and player autonomy, it did allow certain teams to have a fighting chance. I honestly believe that Orlando would not have been Orlando without getting first round picks of things and stuff like that. And Utah, and like, it's so hard to encourage people to go to Utah. I don't want to go into the politics of it all, but it's so hard. And so for me, it concerns me.
I actually think Utah are going to be doing a lot better this year than they did last year. They had a rough year last year, and there's two players who joined the Utah Royals that I think will make a world of difference, and that is Alex Loera. Obviously, she tore her ACL at the beginning of the season last year, so she will be coming off of that. But if she's anything like, what she was before that injury, she is a high impact player. She's going to change games, and she's certainly going to help their defense that was leaking goals. And then on the other end, we all know the name Allie Sentner now. We've seen what she can do with the U.S. Women's National Team, and I think that she's going to have a Rookie of the Year type season with Utah, and I think that they're actually going to be a lot better than they were last year. I'm excited.
Okay, is there a team you are worried about? Or is it just Gotham?
It's definitely Gotham. I'm always a little worried about racing. They can't seem to get out of the same place, to be totally honest, which is disappointing. So I'm a little nervous about racing Louisville, and I have no idea what San Diego is going to look like. I think there's a chance that it could be kind of a tumultuous season for San Diego.
Interesting. So for me, it is Portland, I think.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think Portland, because for me, I was umming and ahhing between Seattle Reign and Portland. I think Seattle.
It's probably both, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably both, and it kills me because I love Laura Harvey so much. But Seattle Reign performed so badly last season, so under expectations, and yeah, they've made some great signings, or one or two, but I don't see it.
Yeah,
I still think they're in trouble. Portland are in so much trouble. The signings that they've made haven't been that great. The players they've got, So I'm sorry, Portland Thorns fans, but I do think you will be in the bottom half of the table this year.
And not that one person makes a team, but we have to talk about the impact that not having Sophia Smith will have. This is a team that was also built with the idea that Wilson would be on the field.
Yeah, and they've also then lost huge personalities in the changing room, such as like Becky Sauerbrun's retired. The Kling's not there anymore.
I think that's a good thing for this team, but yes, it's a transition moment for sure.
Yes. And then I know my answer to this question, but
hit me.
Here you go. So, team with the best new kit.
I honestly don't have my answer yet. I have to look at all of them.
Well, I'll give my answer, which is none of them. They're bloody awful.
You
All
don't
of
like
them.
any of them?
All of them are horrible.
What is
I
the
can
matter with
I
you?
can just about like the Gotham one, but that's about it. The new NWSL kits are disgusting. Nike,
wow.
Nike, what have you done? Once again, you have failed women's football.
Oh my god.
No, and it's like Chris, and we will do a fits and kits on this because Chris loves loads of them. I hate all of them, and Sarah.
Chris is right. Chris is always right about fashion. So if you're against Chris, you're wrong. For those of you who don't know who Chris is or what Fits and Kits is, on our Patreon, we do a show called Fits and Kits. The fits of the week, for example, the pregame fits, and the kits, the best kits. And our wonderful Chris hosts that, where we basically talk about the crossover between soccer and fashion. And our favorite ones to do are when we get the new kits and we all agree or disagree on certain ones. So we'll have that coming to you shortly. But I think you're in the minority here, Allie. That was a wild thing to say. The only one. Oh, my least favorite one is Washington Spirits because I can't get on board with a highlighter yellow. I don't care what you do to it. I'll never be on board with a highlighter yellow. It's just a no for me.
Okay, so from the ugly to the bad, more allegations have come out about coaches in the NWSL, and one in particular. So I'm going to let my Bay correspondent Sarah take this one about what's going on with Montoya.
So Albertine Montoya is the head coach of Bay FC. He has been since the beginning of their inaugural season last year. And Marissa Ngemi is a wonderful reporter for the Chronicle. She covers all of women's sports in the Bay Area, and that includes Bay FC. And she reported on this. This dropped on March 7th. And I think it was surprising for everybody. The first few paragraphs of this article are really telling. So I'm just going to quote some of it. The National Women's Soccer League has ordered an independent investigation of the Bay FC coaching staff. The team and league told the Chronicle on Thursday. This article goes on to say that the statement came after the team and league were asked to respond to a Chronicle investigation that found, among other things, that two former players had described the Bay FC culture under head coach Albertine Montoya as, quote, toxic during the team's inaugural season last year in 2024, while two other employees who were with the team last season agreed with that assessment. It goes on to say that the Chronicle found out that at least two formal complaints had been lodged against Montoya, one that was cleared after it was reviewed by a third-party investigator hired by the team, and the other complaint in which a player said she had experienced, quote, bullying by the coach went to the league, and that status of that complaint is unclear right now. I think it's really important to note that four former employees and two former players total told the Chronicle that they chose to leave Bay FC because of Albertine Montoya. And that, I think, is a really big statement. Along with this, BFC have just been in the news lately for a lot of not great things. Just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe 4 weeks ago, they were in the news because they hired Graham Abel. Graham Abel, for those who don't know, he was the former head coach of the Oregon Ducks, a Division I NCAA college team here. And he was accused by 14 players at University of Oregon of verbal abuse that included harsh language, thrown objects, and threats to revoke scholarships. So BFC hired him, and within the course of a few weeks, because of pressure from supporters, from fans, that's it. Graham Abel resigned his post at BFC after that. But the fact that they hired him in the first place and then defended that hiring by saying that they did their due diligence on him is inexcusable, in my opinion, even though these are allegations and they technically haven't been proven. They're allegations by a lot of players. And in this climate, for you to hire somebody like that, it's truly inexcusable. And then on top of that, in the middle of the season last year, the inaugural GM, Lucy Rushton, who's the person who put this team together, just randomly left, no reason. She just resigned her post. She's now at Portland, and Matt Potter has since taken over GM duties. And Matt Potter, another figure who was the head coach of Kansas City, and mysteriously, we still don't know the reason, just left Kansas City. Now he's the GM at BFC. So a lot of stuff has been happening in that front office. And for this article to drop, I mean, my first reaction is just pure disappointment, because when Albertine Montoya was hired, and the majority of the conversation around his hiring was that he was a trusted coach by many players and had a deep history and a great reputation in the Bay Area. So for this to come out, it just feels a little extra disappointing. Obviously, we can sit here and say these are just allegations. Nothing has been found. And I think we have to say that. But I do think these allegations hold a lot of weight. The whole thing is really sad. The whole thing is really disappointing. I mean, he has a daughter who plays college soccer in the Bay Area. It's probably incredibly disappointing for her to have to hear this about her father. It's also really disappointing that for all of these players and all of these employees who left because of a toxic environment that was created by this person, allegedly. All of it's sad. I'm just sad by all of it. And I'm sad that it just feels like every 3 or 4 months we get another one of these.
That's it. That's the thing, isn't it? It's like, it feels like you can just copy and paste the same statement, just put in a different head coach and a different team. It just keeps coming out, and it's like, how do these people keep getting into this position of power? And then it's going to be, if it does get proven he does leave Bay, I would give it 6 months for it to die down, in air quotes, and then he'll get a position somewhere else.
Honestly, I mean, now we're just speculating, but I don't see him leaving Bay Area soccer. If you ask where people get their power from, I think that's part of where his power comes from, is he's very tied in, he's very locked in the Bay Area soccer scene, and he knows a lot of the right people. Obviously, we'll stay posted on what's found from this, but I applaud any reporter that has had to dig into things like this and has done so. So I guess we'll stay posted on this, but what a way for the BFC to start this year, huh?
And that's it from us here at the Women's Soccer Show. Just a reminder to please keep checking out our Patreon. We put some great extended interview stuff up there, some extra shows. There's going to be another episode of The Other 8 with me and Mike this week. So please check out our Patreon. As we tell you, it is literally the cost of a cup of coffee a month, and it helps us give the great content to you guys.
Thanks so much for listening. This has been the Women's Soccer Show. I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.